Shane, good to have you on here, sir. Thank you very, very much for being here today. Starting way back here with you, are you able to kind of recall when you realized you wanted to make music?
Yeah, man. I think if I go back far enough, it was my parents had like this record collection that they kept in the basement forever. And they would always listen to music. They liked like AC/DC and the Rolling Stones was like their favorite band, which was like awesome way to get into rock and roll. But I remember my sixth grade teacher had like this record player that she was showing us like record players on or records on. And it was like an old flip top. It must have been from like the 70s or something that the school had around. And she put on like Bob Marley. And I was like, whoa, this is sick. She's showing us different kinds of music. But then after that, I was like, this record collection that my parents have, I was like, I could use that record player. So I went and asked her, and I was like, hey, is there any way I could buy this record player from you that she was using for the class? And she's like, yeah, sure, for $5. And I was like, oh, sick. And I go back home, collect $5, all in quarters, too. It was so funny. Go there, buy the record player, and then just spent like weeks on end probably flipping through my parents' old records. They had some cool ass records too. And for a while there, I was pretending like I was like a radio DJ. And then I was like, well, rock and roll is so sick. I was like singing in the shower and doing all this stuff. And at that point, I had like my mom's acoustic guitar that she played as a kid, and she gave to me. And I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. And I remember, so I was living like on a farm at the time in Utah, and it was my mom's farm that she grew up on. And so my next door neighbor was her guitar teacher, and she still lived there when she was a kid. And now she was much older. And so she's like, yeah, why don't you go ask her if she could teach you guitar? And I was like, that's a great idea. So I went over, knocked on her door, and she's like, yeah, if you mow my lawn once a week, I'll give you guitar lessons once a week. And so that's kind of where I started learning guitar. It was so sick. She would teach me like we would learn like Beatles songs and like old songs like that, old folk songs. She's like folk music, so it was like folk guitar. I was learning like different kind of finger picking and stuff, and it was really cool, man. I just mowed her lawn. She was like an old hippie too, like farmer. So yeah, actually thinking back on it, that's how I first learned. And it was sick on my mom's old acoustic guitar by the woman who taught her when she was a kid.
That's
It was
awesome.
it was really cool. Yeah. And then I remember I got my first like electric guitar when there was this store in Utah, because I'm from Utah. I think I said that already actually, but
It's a crucial
it's a
part of
big
this, man.
part. Yes, it is. Utah is a unique place. And so we went to this store, and it was like a big warehouse store. It's called like NPS. And it was essentially a store where things used to fall off the back of semis, right? And then they would end up at this store. And so you just get the random stuff kind of damaged or whatever. And there's a sick electric guitar that I talked my mom into getting me that was like a mini one. And it came with like a little amp, and I would just sit there. I didn't even know how to like really tune it at the time. So I was just like, um, and I think that was the first time I like actually felt like you get into like that Zen mode with music, where you're just kind of like, and I was just like, I don't even know what I was playing because it wasn't even in tune in the first place. But uh, and so yeah, it just kind of all started clicking, and I got super into music. Like this dude that my older sister was dating burnt me like every Metallica CD, and I just met up with the right people, and so yeah, it was probably about it was like fourth through sixth grade is kind of when that all kind of started happening, and it's just kind of snowballed from there, I guess.
Would it have been a different instrument aside from the guitar if it was like a bass or drums, or would it have eventually led to guitar for you, do you think?
I think it would have. I do think it would have led to guitar because like I I loved Kirk Hammett, right, and Angus Young. Those are like some of the first ones. I was like, these guys are so badass, man. And actually, kind of a funny story. So I do think it was always meant to be guitar. Um, but later, when I linked up with Tikoy, who was the drummer in Max Payne, we've been friends since fifth grade when he moved to my town and was in my class. and we started hanging out, and we like decided we both like music, and we were like, well, let's start a band. And we're like, okay, but we both play guitar, so what are we gonna do? And so we kind of just like, I don't know, it's one of us is gonna have to play drums. And I don't know how we decided, but we decided that he would learn the drums for the sake of us starting a band. And so that was kind of cool because I got to keep playing guitar, and he kept playing guitar too, but for that band. And then he became a really good drummer and was the drummer for Max Payne throughout the whole thing. So that's how that kind of developed. But no, I think it was always meant to be guitar, honestly.
What would have been the secondary choice of instrument, looking back on it?
That's a good question, man. So I used to play cello in elementary school and junior high. So like there was that classical thing. I think secondary instrument, I mean, at that time it probably would have had to be drums. Like I would have liked to be a singer, but I don't know. I think I might be like tone deaf or something when it comes to hearing my own voice because I'm a terrible singer. Working on it, but terrible. But since then, now I've been getting into a lot of like keyboard synth stuff, so kind of just exploring everything. But I think drums would have been the second one because you can really rock out on the drums, and I would get behind the kit after practice and just like, yeah, probably drums. Drums are sick.
Drums are pretty cool. Cello's pretty
Mm,
cool too. And I'm glad we
cello's
got into
cool.
this. We're gonna rank all the instruments over at the Patreon, so join us there. We're gonna be doing all of the instruments that are available. And Shane, you're gonna stick around for that, right? It's gonna be about 4 hours of a tier list. So
Yeah, let's do it. We'll just go down the list of instrument and we'll put them in. Supposedly there's an instrument out there that now this might be like a wise tale. I don't really know. So that band Sleep,
yeah,
that like stoner metal band, right? We went to one of their show out here in Brooklyn, and after we went to like the bar around the block, and Matt Pike cruises over, and we're all like, "Whoa, like that's Matt Pike," and he's outside, and he comes over and just starts talking to us like unprovoked, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been playing this instrument where you have to drink a lot of milk," and we're like, "Why?" He's like, "If you don't drink a lot of milk, it starts like deteriorating your bones." And we're like, what is he? And he was dead serious. I haven't fact checked that yet, but like that's a story that always sticks in my mind. Is like somewhere out there, there's some weird instrument that like puts off some kind of radiation. That if you drink a lot of milk, it counteracts that radiation. But if you don't, it starts deteriorating your bones. So we should look that up when we go down the tier list too.
we'll get into that. Uh, Mr. Pike, if you're free to come on the podcast, we would love to get to the bottom of this, straight from the source whenever you're ready, sir. And we'll have our milk ready to just kind of talk about wet the whistle.
Seriously. I was like, this is wild, man. He's being totally serious. And he didn't have any teeth at the time. He just got all his teeth ripped out. He was ready to get like dentures or something. So he was talking through his gums. So I was like, I kind of believe him. Maybe he was playing it before he figured out the milk thing,
That's
and that's
very
what
true. Yeah, got to get that calcium in there, kind of get that bone density back. Yeah. Um, I'm not gonna call him a liar. I think he might be onto something. Turns out that was
we,
Ozempic way back then.
yeah, no, seriously. Weird stuff, man. We got to get to the bottom of that. I'm surprised I haven't because that was years ago. And I tell that story quite often. So
It's
I kind of
good.
like it
It's a
just to
good
be like
story.
a myth, like unproven or undisproven, like maybe it does exist because it's hard to imagine that it does. But as of right now, we're not sure. We're taking his word
Jury's still out. We're gonna do some investigation on that. We'll get back to everybody on that. Going back to the earlier influences for you though, how do you view those musicians now? Do you kind of still creep into, checking them out every once in a while, or not so much now?
Oh, dude, absolutely, I do. I just saw the Rolling Stones like maybe two years ago when they came through New York. It was at MetLife, where like the Giants and the Jets play and stuff, and it was awesome. I was like, these guys are still rocking, and even their new album, it was pretty good at the time. It's classic kind of bluesy stuff, Keith Richards. Metallica, not so much. I remember listening to like Saint Anger when I was at that age. That was like the new album, and I was like, I like this now. And then their older albums, I was like, meh, and but AC/DC, I also just went and saw AC/DC up in Boston, and Angus Young did like a 25-minute guitar solo that was just like mind blowing for how old he is. I was like, that's badass too, So I still got mad respect for all of those musicians, which is sick because, I've been listening to them forever. And they still got it, which is insane. So it gives me hope, could do this for a long time.
I mean, if anybody can, Shane, it's you, sir. So let me just put that out there right now. Let me
Thank
ask
you
you
very
this though, and I mean it. Um, are there certain songs for you that you're like, yeah, I don't need to hear that song again. I've heard it too many times, and it's just it could vanish from your world, and you'd be perfectly fine with that.
That's a tough one, man. Of like songs that I like choose to listen to, because
It
obviously there's those songs that like,
it could
just
be
get
that.
pounded.
Yeah, it
Or
could be that, or songs that you just do not like. You didn't like it the first time you heard it, and you don't like it the thousandth time that you've heard it. It's just one that you're just like, yeah, that could be wiped out, and that'd be all right.
that's a tough one, man. Honestly,
I know we're
I
kind of we're kind of getting into it, just it's pretty deep already
yeah.
with the
What
milk
songs
and
do I
everything.
dislike? Yeah, we already went straight to the milk, so it's hard to backtrack to, specific songs at this point. But uh, honestly, no, I'm pretty cool with just any music. I just listening to music is like my favorite thing in the world. I'm constantly listening to music, trying to like explore different genres and just kind of letting the algorithm take me down whatever path it wants to take me down, and like I don't listen to a whole lot of like popular music right now, but I can see the why people do, and I like some of the songs and stuff. So, even like Macarena, I'll listen to that any day and get me out there dancing on the dance floor. I've
It's
heard
kind
that
of a
song
rare
probably a
one to
million
come
times.
across nowadays.
I know. I was reading something about like wedding DJs and stuff though, and they're like, you gotta have Macarena in there. You gotta have like, like there's a couple songs that every wedding has to play, and Macarena was one of them. And that's kind of why I think my mind went there because I was just reading something about that and it reminded me of that.
I mean,
No,
I'm
man, all
full
musicians,
disclosure, I'm
I'm
not
down.
going to a lot of weddings, so maybe that's where it's getting played, and I'm just not at certain places.
Exactly.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for that. Have you been to a wedding with a wedding band before? Have you attended one that had people playing?
Oh man, you know what? I actually haven't. No. I recently went to one last year that had some buddies like playing instruments as they walked down the aisle. It was like my buddy TJ and Cooper and Callan who was in my band, and TJ is in a band called Gift. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. They were real cool, like kind of psych rock band. But they were kind of playing like music as people were sitting down, and they walked down the aisle like acoustic, but no, I haven't been to a wedding band. I was where that has like an actual band. That would be really fun, And like I have enough friends that are in bands and stuff, but I haven't been to one like that. That'd be really cool. I saw that the Mystery Lights did that, I think, for one of their buddies' wedding. I thought that would be really fun, to like go to a rock show at a wedding. Everyone's all dressed up and rocking out. So I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah, and shout out
I
to
think I
Mike
think we
as
promised.
well.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the ones I listened to of yours when I was diving in. Mike's a great guy.
And
Love
everybody
him.
else should go back and listen to that one after this one too, please. He's
Totally.
great. There's lots of great stuff coming out of New York right now. It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, New York is good, man.
It's
Yeah, New York
ending
is
though.
good.
It's like Geese is really fucking. That's about it. And then nobody's
Yeah.
gonna pay attention anymore. No, I'm just kidding. There's always
Yeah,
good stuff.
once Geese makes it. There's this really cool band out here that I've been listening to, or that's coming up right now is called Balaclava. They're like a sick, crazy punk band, really fun live show, really good music. I think they just scheduled like a European tour or something. But keep your eyes out for them as well, Balaclava. I think that they're on the up and up.
Shout out to
So
Balaclava. Yeah, right on. That's awesome. I like it. I like it. Jane, I appreciate you shouting out the local bands, AC/DC, Balaclava,
Rolling Stones,
Rolling
Metallica, yeah.
Stones. Nowadays, you hear a lot of like snippets of like band songs that kind of begin to become popular on social media from like a 30-second clip or whatever. It's like trending audio, that sort of a thing. Max Pain and the Groovies came before that, but do you think that that would have changed the way that you guys went about kind of starting the band? If that were the case, or if you came up at this point?
That's a good question. Yeah, because that's totally like a thing right now, you know, like you get a TikTok song and it's famous. I think like King Kong and the Barbecue Show had one that blew up.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, like these guys have been around forever. And now all of a sudden, like they sold the rights to that song for like massive amounts of money, you know,
And
just
good
because it
for
was,
them. That's great.
oh,
Fantastic.
dude, totally. I don't think it would have changed the way that we like wrote or went about like, yeah, our songwriting at all, but it could have changed the way we like marketed, you know, because it's like really a lot of bands when they're promoting stuff, even on their own page, you know, they'll select like a really hot 30 seconds of a song that's just badass that instantly like grabs you in. And that's a good thing, you know. Back when we were doing it, it was like, here's a CD. Spotify was around like after a couple years, you know. We started a little bit before like even that. But when Spotify came around, I loved the idea of people being able to like listen wherever, whenever, you know. I didn't care that we weren't making money at all off it. Just like the accessibility was awesome. So that was a big change, you know. Because when we started, it was like burning CDs, and here's a CD you can listen to it. Everyone had CD players and stuff, so that was cool. But yeah, once Spotify came around, just the streaming aspect of the way that the music industry went was really cool. I loved it because you could just tell someone anywhere you were at, you know, we'd be on tour, be like, are you guys in a band? Yeah, here's our name. Check us out on Spotify. You know, we wouldn't have to give them a CD or whatever. It was like there if they wanted it, you know, and YouTube was cool too. But
Right.
I'm really curious if like TikTok and that stuff was around, kind of how that would have gone. Because who knows, maybe there's 30 seconds in one of our songs that would be great for all that TikTok stuff or whatever they're doing, you know. And we could have made it big, you know. I think that would have been sick. I do think that a lot of probably big music industry people do take that into account, you know, when they're doing like these big acts and stuff. They're like, oh, this will be great for the snippet or something. I'm sure that happens, you know, but I doubt it on the level that we were at, you know, and like with these rock and roll bands that we used to play with, you know.
Yeah. What year are we talking about around this time that Max Payne kind of started?
Yeah, so it's probably about so me and Tikoy, the drummer, we've been in bands since seventh grade, you know, playing together. Our first one was called Eruption Destruction, and that was really
Catchy.
fun. We used to,
Catchy.
yeah, we used to cover like White Stripes, and so we had a couple of our own songs. And then I remember when we were seniors in high school, we did me, Tikoy, and David, who was the front man of Max Payne. We started this band because my high school was called Woods Cross, and every year they had Woodstock, you know, and we're like bands from would come in, and we're like, we should start a band to play that. And so we got. I was actually the singer of that band. Tikoy played guitar, and David played drums. So no one played their instruments they ended up on for Max Payne, but it was just for the. And we played like we covered like the Animals and Rocky Erickson, and had a couple of our own songs, and that was really fun. It was called The Peaks. Um, and then after that, you know, after high school, but then Max Payne started up. So probably like 2009, 2010, and we started me, Dallin, who played guitar, who like kind of took me under his wing to. He's a great guitarist, and kind of showed me more of like the technical side of electric guitar and how to make weird noises and how to get really stoned and just play music, you know? It was like a whole new world. Uh, and so we started playing in this basement that they rented. They had like this duplex in Salt Lake, and we played down there. Neighbors hated it because we would just play so loud. And we were doing that for a while. And then we brought on David to sing. And so, and just kind of our first show ever was on New Year's Eve. And it was so funny because we were opening up for this local band called Spell Talk, and who was like our idols at the time. They were like the local rock band, you know. And they agreed to play this New Year's Eve show with us at our house with this massive house party. And Dave had this old acoustic guitar, and he was like, after the show or at the end of the show, I'm gonna break this guitar on my head. And we're like, all right, sick. So we're playing, and then after at the end of the show, he goes to break the guitar on his head, but he breaks it string side facing him. And
Oh,
so he
all
just
right.
smashes the strings into his face and cuts up his face. And I think like his girlfriend had to take him to the hospital. Like I don't really know because the party kept going on, but I remember he did it and like fell to the floor in pain. And it was just like, you did it the wrong way, you know? But that, so that was like our first real show, and when we like had songs and a singer and a full band and played for people, opened up for a band. New Year's Eve, that must have been New Year's Eve 2010 or 2011.
Hmm.
And that, so that was the first time Max Pain and The Groovies played a show.
So let me ask you this: Do you consider that? Would you consider that the last show of the year that you played, or the first show of the year that you played?
Wow, that's a good question.
Thank you.
It technically was before midnight,
Okay,
so it would have been the last show of the year.
you're by the
First and
books. I
last
like
show
it.
of the year, though. First and last. So that was a fun party. I remember the drummer from that Spell Talk band. He was like a short little dude. His name was Sammy Hammers. And
What a
during
name!
the party, I know, it was so sick. He's a badass dude. He lives like in the hills of like South Dakota now or something by Sturgis.
That's awesome.
Just tinkering up there. But I remember
Hammers.
we
What a
had this
good
old
nickname too. Just hit him with the
uh,
hammers. Oh,
dude. Yeah,
yeah.
he was a badass dude and wild dude though. And like the party kept raging. We lived like in this old kind of Victorian style house up in Salt Lake, which they have a bunch of. And there was this old chandelier that must have been there 80 years or something. And he hops up on it thinking that he could like swing on it, you know, instantly grabs it and just rips it out of the ceiling, falls straight back. We got in a lot of trouble for that house once we moved out. That
Classic
we destroyed
hammers
that
though.
house pretty
Classic.
much. Classic hammers, dude. Should have expected it. We should have
Yeah.
like made sure that that was attached to the ceiling well before we even invited them over because
Right.
classic hammers.
Sick. Yeah, for sure.
Wild party. I remember they like left their merch there, and the next day they were like, "Hey, we left our merch. Can we come get it?" We're like, "That's been picked through about 10
Hammers
times.
got
Everyone
to him,
got their
man.
piece.
Yeah. Hammers need a new
Everyone got their
shirt.
piece of that. Yep,
Everyone.
exactly.
Everyone's rocking
Yeah.
it already. Yeah.
Yeah, they came over to pick it up, and we're all lounging in their shirts, being like, "Yeah, I'm sorry."
We don't have any sizes left, man. Sorry, dude. That is a good way to kick off the year and the band. That's yeah,
Mhm.
a double whammy right there. Yeah, what was the music scene like at that time when this was starting up? Was there like a lot of bands or like not so many at that point within the Salt Lake area?
There was a handful of bands in the Salt Lake area. Really cool scene actually in Salt Lake when we came up, and like I'm extremely grateful to be a part of that scene because it opened so many doors to us. But yeah, there was a handful of bands kind of doing like what I would consider like the rock and roll that we were trying to do. You know, just like there was a lot of bands. What was really popular in the Salt Lake scene at that time was kind of like more indie bands, I guess. Like I don't even know what would be like a good like
Comparison, but but
correlation.
but kind of those kind of sounds from that
Yeah,
era.
yeah, yeah, exactly. From that era, like you go back and like whatever band was big in the indie scene, but like Spell Talk was like a rock and roll band, rowdy and played loud and had some blues and like to party. And like I think that's kind of where we wanted to go also as a band. That's kind of music we were playing. So they took us under their wing. They had a big following, and they were opening for big acts and kind of took us on, introduced us to the people out there, Will and Lance, who do SNS, and they now have I don't know if you've seen it. They have a festival out there called Kilby Block Party
Oh
that they
yeah,
put
sure.
on. Yeah, so now they're doing that. But when we started up, they just owned this venue called Urban Lounge and Kilby Court. And so Kilby Court was like the all age venue. Urban Lounge was like the bar venue. And so they introduced us to them, and they really liked us and took us under the wing. And they were like, they ran the music scene in Salt Lake at that time. It sounds like they still do. But and so they allowed us to open up for big acts coming through, which was really sick because bands used to stop through Utah. It used to be on the route. They would come from California up Las Vegas, Salt Lake, and then Denver. I feel like it kind of gets skipped over by some of those bigger bands now. Not all of them, but at the time, everyone was hitting it on that route. So they would come through, and we got the opportunity to open for a lot of them, which was sick because that we got to meet a lot of cool people, party with a lot of cool people, and made friends.
Yeah.
Down the line. We still run into them all the time, and we did when we were on tour. And so it was kind of cool being like in a smaller pond. It allowed us to have different opportunities, and kind of stuff like that.
Right, right. Is there any show that stands out to you even now from that time?
And I think opening up for Ty Siegel was really
I've heard of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
awesome. Yeah. And his band Fuzz too, when they came through, we got open for them. Uh, the Growlers, when they came through, we opened for them when they were touring. Uh, Actually, they're touring now, but like those Ty was the funnest one. But then also we got into like pretty much any show we wanted to, no questions asked. We'd rock up to the door and be like, we're friends with everyone. Hey, what's up? So got to see like the Black Angels a bunch, Brian Jonestown, uh, any of those kind of bands coming through, which was really sick. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
but the best one probably was like opening for Ty Siegel because he had just came out and he was like running hot at that time. Or he didn't just came out, but he had just dropped like Melted or something, and
Yeah.
and then like Fuzz's first album was like mind blowing. So when we got open for them, it was fun. And they all used to we rented a house like a couple blocks up from that venue, Urban Lounge. So we would try to get, and we had a big garage, like 4-car massive garage. We had like a mini ramp in there, a pool table in there. So like our goal was kind of always to get these bands to come up and party with us after the show. Like, hey, we're up there. And like Ty came up a couple times. Like, yeah, the dudes from Brian Jonestown. We would just try to get everyone up there, and people came up there, because there's
Hammers
not
is
much
in
to
the
do.
mix. Yeah, man. Thanks for asking him.
Legendary. I'm gonna have to reach out to him after this actually and let him know I was thinking
Hammers, if
about
you
him.
check it
Legend.
out.
Yeah,
Love you,
I'll
dude.
tell him. I'll tell him. Yeah, shout out Hammers again, man. Always.
That's cool, man. That's rad that was really happening scene.
Oh, dude, it was
There
happening.
was a constant flow. Maybe not so many people in the area all the time, but kind of a consistent turnover of people just coming through and floating by.
Totally, man. It was really sick. And like I said, those guys, Will and Lance, who do SNS, they were just like they would bring in the good acts, and it was just awesome place to be at that time. Like I wouldn't change it for the world because it was so true. And like everyone who went out to the shows too were just down for it, down to dance and rock. And anytime one of those acts came through, just everyone would turn up. People would come out to our shows, small town vibes. It was sick. It was like just Salt Lake was just at that size. It's grown a lot since then. But where it was like a legitimate city, but nothing like the bigger cities, it was like maybe 250,000 and people in downtown proper. But like anyone our age wasn't in tune to the music scene, and these guys were putting it on and supplying these events. And there was a really cool like local radio station there. Um, KRCL is what it was called. And they would bring in the big acts and play cool music on the radio. So it was badass, man. It was really cool.
It's a lot of stuff happening at the same time.
Living life, man. Yeah, it was crazy. It was hard to hold down a job, but we did it. We're here. So I had to go through a couple of jobs, but I remember one job I worked at before we went to tour. My friend got me this job, and I went there, and it was I didn't know this at the time, but it was a debt collection agency for gym memberships for Gold Gym, which is a big scam. I gotta shout that out. It's a massive scam. They sign you up for like a 2 week free trial, but then instantly they start charging your credit card, and
Oh,
if it doesn't go through, you get a late fee and rack up thousands of dollars. I didn't realize that was the job at the time, but I went there and they were like, yeah, you got this job. I think it was like Mormon owned. Like I think the owner was like a bishop or something. So he was like testing me. He's like, they called me one day and they're like, yeah, we want to give you this job, but the only stipulation is you got to cut your hair. Like I think they were testing me. Like, is this guy gonna cut his hair? It was a call center job. I was like, without even
they're
thinking,
not
I was
gonna
like,
hear
yeah,
my hair over the phone. Oh
it
man.
was insane. And I actually think that might be illegal. I'm not sure, but that was the case. And without even thinking, I was like, yeah, I'll cut my hair, no problem. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, then we'll see you on Monday. Anyways, my buddy Callan had a wig because he would wear a wig at the airport. And I was like, dude, let me borrow that wig. So I showed up in this wig that was so totally obvious, like newscaster, alien head type wig with all my hair up in it. I show up and you had to have known it was a wig, right? But they couldn't say anything about it. So they were just like, okay, you actually cut your hair, huh? I'm like, yep. And so I still have my like photo card that they give you that they took on the first day. It was so funny, but uh yeah, so I would show up there and like sometimes I would show up there, after like a show or something hung over, didn't get all my hair up in there. So like some would be hanging out and stuff. And it was funny. I lasted there 2 weeks because we went on tour to California
Like I said,
and I was
sometimes,
like,
by the way, sometimes you would show up hungover. This 2 week job.
yeah, no, seriously. That's what I'm saying, man. That was kind of like the time because we all lived in this massive party house, and it was like there was always people over, and I was at the age where it was you always just wanted to be a part of it. Like I said, that garage just infamous. People would be out there at any time, all hours of the night. I'd walk out there, and people would be out there, so it was hard not to be hungover for work, especially this like terrible job where you're hounding people for money that they didn't even know. It was terrible. But we were going on like a 2 week West Coast tour, and I put in my time off, and they gave it back to me, and they're like, "You're good to go." But they didn't sign it. They were trying to catch me again. Like they were trying to fire me, and they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, you're good to go." And so my thought was like, if I go and I don't make sure this is signed, I'm gonna get back, and they're like, it wasn't approved. So I went over and I was like, you got to sign this, like I'm on to you guys, like all this stuff. They signed it. I left for
With the
two
wig
weeks
on. With the wig
with the
on.
wig on, with the wig on, dude. It was so funny. And so we go on tour for 2 weeks and I come back and I'm like, when you're like in such a great, beautiful place like California and you realize you don't want to do that anymore. But I had just bought in guitar strings for the tour and I had accidentally left them there. So I had like a 3 pack of guitar strings there. So when we got back from tour, I was like, I'm quitting this job, but I'm going in there and getting my guitar strings. So I showed up, no wig, walked to my desk, sit down, clock in, grab my guitar strings, and just walk out. And I'm like, screw this place. I had to show them.
The jig was up. The wig was off. Things are really happening, man.
Things were really happening. It's crazy, man, reflecting on all this stuff because, yeah, when you reached out and I, knew I was coming on here, I started going down this rabbit hole of memories that I kind of forgot from those days. It was just wild. But the wig was off and I let him know, but I had to go get my guitar strings because I was broke and
Had
you
to.
needed those.
Crucial.
Absolutely, man. It was wild times. Worst place ever, though. Paramount Acceptance is the name. Be careful when you sign up for gym memberships. That's all I got to say. They're coming for you.
Say just don't even go to the gym. Let's even go that far.
Even easier. Don't go to the gym.
Don't even go to the gym.
Beautiful.
Don't
Love
even
it.
spend any money. How about that? How far out can we get? Try not to spend any money. How about that?
Don't spend any money. Don't sign anything. Period.
Shane, I like this. I like this. I mean, this is like a kind of like a New Year's revolution.
It's like everyone's, want to get in shape for the new start. They sign up for gym memberships. Like, no, this year we're not writing anything. We're not even agreeing to anything this year.
I like it.
And we're not
It's
going to the gym at
strict.
all. We're not spending any money.
Nah, I like it. Yeah. If there was a petition to sign, I would sign it, but that's against the rules, so I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Exactly, man. You just have to think it because you can't agree to it either.
yeah. You just kind of gotta like tell people that that's what you're doing, just verbally.
Yeah.
Affirmations, if you will.
Affirmation. It's the year of affirmations. I like that, and I will abide. Maybe I'm not agreeing to it.
So, you guys are in Utah. Do you feel like things were really just like moving pretty quickly for the band? Just like, did you feel like you were just off and running and everything was just sort of falling into place as you went along?
Dude, yeah, it did feel like that, man. It really did with those guys in our corner who I mentioned earlier, and just like everyone in the band's drive, and it was just like things started falling in, and in the scene we were in, people were welcoming and accepting of us, so we started growing like a crowd there, and through connections we made through touring bands that would come through, we had connections elsewhere, so everything just started falling into place. It was really sick, kind of how it worked out, and I guess like we decided the next step was to start going on tour, so, and that was cool. We started reaching out to different people who we had met, and they started hooking us. I think our like first little tour was to like Denver and Boulder, and we went out there and played a couple shows, and then we came back, and then we did like California. I remember when we did the California tour, T-Boy, he worked at like a skate shop at the time. So he was constantly on the computer, emailing people and setting up this sick tour and reaching out to all these contacts that we made. And I remember he kind of was doing it all behind the scenes. And then one practice, he's like, "Hey, I want to show you guys something." And he brought us into a room, and he pulled up a slideshow that he put together that was so sick. And it was like, why we should go on tour, blah, 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 who we should go on tour, what the date should be. And also like already have this tour booked, like, let's just go. And it was like, all right, good. Let's do it. And that was like our first California tour. And that was awesome because that's kind of why we just, because we used to like go on skate trips all the time when we were in high school and stuff like that, pack up the car and go down to Vegas and whatever just to skate. And it was so fun. And so this was just like another way to do that and experience that through a different outlet, touring and meeting people and going to new places through music, which we loved. And so, yeah, that first tour, I remember it was really sick. Like, do you know that band Spindrift?
Yeah, I know the name. I'm not too familiar with
Okay.
their stuff though.
There's this guy KP who we became really good friends with, and he helped us set up a lot of that first tour. And we actually even played with them at Bigfoot Lodge in LA. And it was really sick. We played with them a couple times actually, but they helped us out. And so we borrowed my buddy's. He had like a RV, drivable RV. So we packed that up, and that's what we like did that tour in. And yeah, it was great. So everything just kind of did seem like it was just falling into place like perfectly. It was really magical. Not
Wow.
gonna lie, it's just a great group of dudes, a great scene. Like garage rock at that time was just kicking off like crazy,
And
especially like in
your own
Southern
garage
California.
was kicking off too.
Yeah, dude, exactly. The garage. I remember we had this band, um, the Sticky Fingers, or I forget their. Oh, I just hung out with a dude recently. I forget the band name, but they were out of Kinky Fingers, out of Denver, and they came over one time, and they after a show mid tour, and like one of the dudes was skating the mini ramp that we had in there, and fell and like broke his leg. mid tour, and it was just like, oh man, bummer, you know. The whole rest of the tour, now you have a broken leg. I don't even know what they ended up doing, but yeah, the garage was a magical place, and it was just like people would come over and tag, like yeah, the Night Beats dudes would come over there and throw stuff up on the walls, and it was so cool. It's actually up for sale right now. My buddy sent me the listing, and it was like in the listing it says like the garage was actually home to a local rock and roll band or whatever. And so we made it in the listing of the house being sold what 15 years later or something like that. So I think it's because they had to disclose like why there were so many tags and stuff everywhere.
Did it even try to clean it up at all? Did it like throw a
Well,
fresh coat of paint?
I know, right? Well, we painted over it, but I'm wondering like what kind of stuff is lingering in there. Like they wouldn't disclose that, I don't think, if they didn't have to, right? I don't know. Maybe they would.
But people could consider it like this the disclosure of the property right now.
Yes.
So
Legendary house, honestly. It
legendary
was a
house.
perfect location. It's probably because at the time our singer owned it, which was sick. He bought it like during like 2008 recession, you know,
Oh
when everything
yeah.
was dirt cheap. He got it, and so then we all just piled in there and lived there because he owned it, did whatever we wanted. And then when we moved out to New York, he sold it. And then as soon as we moved out here, the housing market in Salt Lake blew up. Like he always says how much he regrets selling that house because it was like such a good location by the university downtown, and now Salt Lake is just worth so much money in the housing. So
What was that decision like to kind of uproot and move to the East Coast from Utah? What was that time frame like? Was everybody kind of on the same page, or did some people need some like a little zhuzhing to get that going?
that's a good story right there, man. Honestly, I'm happy you brought it up. We were so yeah, we were touring a lot, and especially in California. We were going out to California like a couple times a year, 3 times a year. You know, love California, and so we knew if we wanted to keep going with music, we needed to get out of Salt Lake and go to like a bigger market, more opportunities and stuff. So I think in the back of our minds, we all kind of thought that that would be LA because of the connections we had there and how many times we've been there. But we were on a US tour, our second US tour, and we came through New York and we played this venue called Alphaville, which is like an awesome rock and roll venue out here. More about that to come. But we came out here, we played Alphaville in Brooklyn, and we used to tour in like this big kind of airport shuttle bus that we bought, and we ripped out all the seats and everything and built bunk beds in there and put a couch in there, and we just like customized it, and we lived in that thing. It was
You
so
guys were
sick.
doing
And
better. You guys said we're done with the RV. We're moving to something different.
something different, but same vibe as the RV, you know, the bed, everything like that. But the RV was our friends, so we wanted something of our own.
Hmm.
And it was so sick. But on that tour, it started having issues where if it rained really hard, the engine would get and it wouldn't start. And so we went to this mechanic and they gave us like this ether spray stuff that you spray in there and it would just like boom, you know, pop it and go. And so we had played in Miami and it like flooded. And so we were kind of chugging along up the East Coast since then. Barely, you know, it was barely starting. And so we were shooting it. But anyway, after we played that show in Alphaville, the next day we all get back to the van, ready to go up to Providence. And I remember I'm in the driver's seat and I go to start it and it's not working. So I'm like, all right, pop the hood. Someone go out there and spray that spray in there. So they go out there and just kind of douse it a little too heavy, got a little too crazy with it. Put the hood back down, get back in. I go to start it and it's like, boom. The hood pops up, our engine like explodes. All of a sudden, there's like 4 foot flames coming out of the engine. This in some street in Brooklyn, you know, in Bushwick, and we're like, "Whoa! It's on fire!" And it's flaming up big. So we're like freaking out. We're like, "Whoa!" We get out and we're trying to like pat it out with stuff. we're grabbing like any kind of water or half drinking beer we can to pour on it. Nothing's working. And so like I'm like, shit, like everyone start grabbing gear out because this thing's gonna burn down. This fire's out of control. Um, we didn't have a fire extinguisher, which you should always have a fire extinguisher when you're, touring something like that. But we're trying to put it out and it's not, and these flames getting bigger, there's big black smoke. And this dude comes out on his balcony at like one of the apartments right there, and it's like, hey, there's a fire extinguisher downstairs. I'll be right down, and we're like, sigh of relief, like, okay, this guy's coming down. He comes down, comes out his front door. He's like, someone stole the fire extinguisher.
Oh man.
So we keep trying to get it out. We have on it. Luckily, the majority of it was just like this uh, ether. I think that's what it's called, or ethanol or something that kind of burnt off. And so once like the majority of that burnt off, that was like the real flammable stuff. We were able to like pat it out. But anyway, once we got the fire out, we all kind of like sat in the back of the bus and we're like, we thought the tour was done, we thought the van wasn't going to work anymore. So we're like, I guess we just live here now. We were all saying how much we love New York the whole time we were there. And we're sitting back there and we're like, yeah, I guess like we should just start looking for places and jobs, and this is our life now. So for like an hour or two, we sat back there kind of just trying to like figure out where we could live, how we can get our stuff from Salt Lake out here that we needed. And, we kind of just decided that our life starts here now, which is really cool. And then, like after a couple hours of looking, we're like, all right, well, let's just see if the van starts, So I hop back in the driver's seat, and first try it starts after being on fire for like 10 minutes straight. And it starts and we're like, okay, well, I guess let's continue this tour and see what happens. So we're like, we drive and we start cruising to Providence. But as soon as we leave the city, everyone was like, man, like we almost lived in New York. Like that was cool. Like we could do that. And we're all like, should we just do that? And we're all like, yeah, let's do that. Before we even left the city. And so we just kind of were like, when should we do it? We kind of decided on 3 months. There was no even having to convince anyone in the band. Everyone wanted to do it. It was, we had a dude who was like a roadie with us at the time. He also wanted to move out there. His brother lived out here. And so everyone in the van was like, 3 months sounds good. Let's do it. We finished the tour. Somehow our van made it all the way back. And 3 months later, to the day, pretty much, we came back out here and started our new life out here. So that's kind of when we decided, we knew we needed to get out of Salt Lake. Everyone kind of thought it was LA. Given what happened in New York, it was destiny,
Wow, man.
And you want to know the craziest part to that story?
Let me just say this real quick before you say that, Shane.
Yes. Sorry.
That was already a pretty crazy story. So I don't know what you're about to pull out now. That whole arc there was pretty crazy. So please.
Okay, well, the craziest part of the story. So remember that venue, Alphaville, that I said that we played at? After being out here for a couple years, David and Callan, they really wanted to open a bar venue, and Alphaville came up for sale. And they are now the current owners of that bar that happened to us. Tell me that's not wild.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
So stuff really didn't happen for the band that easily. Like it never really was that easy. Everything it was just fighting for. Nothing ever happened. No, I'm totally kidding. No, a lot of good things happened throughout that time period. That's insane.
Wild stuff, man. But it was that van brought us a lot of opportunities to tour because we could all sleep in there. We would rent on like a full 2-month US tour. We'd probably rent like 3 or 4 hotel rooms when we were just so burnt out that we just wanted to pull the covers down and watch Forensic Files, and shower.
Yeah,
I guess. But most of the time, yeah, right. It's best thing to just turn your mind off of and just like this person, but he left his fingernail at the site or whatever. But no, but it was really fun touring in that bus because we could sleep wherever on the side of the road and parking lots. But also we got put up by so many good people because of that. because we didn't have hotel rooms along the way, it was awesome because we really got to hang out with the locals and they would take us back to their place. And, if you're a touring band coming through, people want to show you a good time. And we were open to it. So we just like got shown so much cool, and you get to see the US in a different way than just like visiting a city, because they want to immerse you in their city. So it's like I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on like the real vibe of small cities, big cities through that experience.
That sounds
For
pretty
real.
cool, man. That sounds pretty rad.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask you this. What would have happened if the band stayed in Salt Lake? What would have what do you think would have happened?
It's a good question, man. And honestly, I've never thought about that because it just, you just keep moving with stuff. If we would have stayed in Salt Lake, I think like the whole thing about us being in Salt Lake and why we all kind of we needed to move is because we kind of like capped out there. Um, they're just, there's we kind of reached our limit. So we probably would have stayed and played, good local shows and kept like a good local crowd. But I think that we just wanted to see what we were capable of if we moved to a bigger market. Um, because there, it was good and it was awesome and it was so much love, but we were curious kind of like where we would stand in some of these bigger cities. And so we wanted to try it. I think that was like the logical next step for us as a band because we were all so hungry and we wanted to cap out somewhere and see where the limit was. So I don't think that that was ever in the cards to stay there. But if we did, probably just a whole bunch more debauchery in Salt Lake.
The
Not
house
gonna
is
lie.
not sold, more paint on the walls.
Yep.
Definitely
You
getting
know.
better at vert. I mean, this is just what happens.
It was wild, man. After the dude broke his leg and we tore down that mini ramp and built like a stage. And so then it was cool. We'd have bands come over and actually play our garage. Like the Night Beats played it. Kinky Fingers came through and played it. Like anyone who just wanted to play, and we'd throw on cool shows there. And we threw on this boxing match one time that was so sick. We played this show at like this arts festival, and at the arts festival, David kept because David was boxing his best friend Tavish at the time, and during the show he just kept like, "We're having a boxing match back at the house. Everyone's invited. It's gonna be," and it was big, dude, and it was awesome. We've had that place packed out with people, and he boxed his friend, and it was just like a real down and dirty. People were like pouring beer on him as they were boxing. The whole garage was just like smoke, just like down to here, and yeah, so probably a whole lot more of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to promote your own fights sometime. What's it, Don King style? Just waving some flags, really getting it going.
Yeah, man, that was fun, and boy did he promote it. It turned out to be the fight of the year for sure. I'm
Yeah,
surprised it didn't get picked up for pay-per-view. Not gonna lie.
I mean, you know how greedy HBO is with that.
I think they
Anyways,
reached out actually, and we couldn't strike a deal. They
no,
want they
I
wanted too much
understand.
of our profit. Yeah, so we had to turn it down.
Kind of classic. That's why we're Showtime around here. We're big stars people on this podcast. Stars, encore, the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out Showtime.
People do have Showtime. I feel like no one has stars. The only people who have stars is because it was added with something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
No
it's like a
one's like,
bundle.
yeah, that they're not stars can't really stand alone in their
Yeah,
thing.
no, that's good. I haven't thought about Showtime for a minute. Like, what's a good Showtime show?
They did have Twin Peaks: The Return, but well, I'm talking about
Oh
though a
yeah.
few years ago though. So
Mm-hmm.
currently I'm not quite sure. But they did not have that fight. They did not, and if they did stream it illegally, that's another big problem.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. If they did, they're gonna have to talk to our lawyers about that.
Yeah, there's gonna be some litigation. So what year was the move to New York? What year are we talking about then?
So actually, crazy thing is, it must have been 2000, and it was November of 2017. And because we got some cops out there, they're like yelling out of their like car. Something's crazy out there, but
This is what happened.
so
Their car's on fire. You become the guy. Hey man, I'll be down with the fire
yeah,
extinguisher.
that would be a full circle for sure,
Full
man.
circle.
So yeah, we moved out here November of 2017. I remember the day we moved out here was election day. So we all packed up the van, went and voted, loaded up the van, and started driving out east. And I remember when we hit Wyoming, um, we went in to stop and go to the bathroom, and I was in there going to the bathroom, and some dude in the stall was just like, "Fuck yes, Trump won, Trump won," and that's how we found out that Trump won the elections. Is from that guy yelling in the stall on our drive out here in Wyoming because it was on election day, and we kept
That's
moving.
that is what I think people are kind of reaching for that now. Like they don't want to find things out on the internet. They want to find it from the source. That's a good source.
There, yeah, some trucker bathroom in Wyoming. Like, come on,
Come on.
legendary.
That's that's a pretty good way of finding out what's what. That's where they have a lot of, Fox or CNN. They send a lot of guys to different bathrooms in Wyoming for sure.
They're the planting people in there
Yeah,
to
just to
find
get the
out the
scoop
real.
too. Yeah. Like what are they saying on the streets? That's the streets. The
That's
people are saying, you always hear that people are saying, but they don't finish the sentence. People are saying this in Wyoming bathrooms. Just what happens.
yeah, man. No, and so that's a good point. That's a really true way to find out who won that election, which was obviously a monumental election. And I remember when so we kept driving and we were in Chicago like the next day or something. We were just hauling, and when we got to Chicago, there was just helicopters everywhere, and we're like, "What's going on?" And it was this big protest at Trump Tower, and so we parked our van and went over there, and it was just a whirlwind, man, to move out here at that time. Because yeah, that happened in Chicago, and we came out here to New York. It was like um, a dark kind of ominous feeling out here. That was because so liberal out here, and people were just really upset and scared. And so it was not the New York vibe that we initially experienced because of that. And then, there was massive protests shutting down the city and stuff that went on in the days to follow. So really wild time to move out here. But yeah, that was the exact day. So I'll never forget because it was election day.
But also, to be fair to the city, uh, you guys also brought a fire into it as well. So it's like it's already off kilter a little bit, your experience in New York thus far. So why not
Yeah.
add this into the mix?
It's like let's just make it as weird and strange as possible, man. And then yeah, we moved out here and we moved out to this neighborhood in like East New York, Brownsville. It's like across the street from this neighborhood called Brownsville, which is like historically tough, crime-ridden area. And we moved into an illegal basement that I couldn't even stand up in. It was the ceilings were too short, couldn't stand up in. We had three people in one bedroom, two people in this back bedroom, just like it just wanted to be out here. So we lived there for, man, must have been like a year or something. There's actually a Vice documentary. Vice came out and like as like worst places to live in New York. Vice came out and was like, you guys actually live here? And it was like one of those spots, but like really cool. Made friends with everyone and we didn't have any money. Utah money is different than New York money, you know what I mean? So luckily we found this illegal basement where the dude like didn't care at all. And we were paying like $150 a month each, I think, for rent. So that was really the only reason we were able to actually just up and move out here with the way we did is that spot. And it was good. It was just like we just needed a place to sleep, and also we had a room where we could jam too. like any hours because of the area, the neighborhood. No one cared. We would be jamming at like 1 o'clock in the morning, walk out to go to the bodega to get beer, and people out on the street are like, "Yeah, man, you're ripping it," like it was cool. It was like that kind of vibe, you know.
Wow.
So otherwise, I don't think we could have made it with rent prices out here, all of us. It's insane.
By the way, just touching back on the Vice thing, you know where they heard about your living situation from. They got a guy out in Wyoming.
Exactly. They're in tune to the streets, man.
It all circles back. Cheyenne,
Yeah.
big hub, big.
Big hub. That's where you get the real news, man.
Yeah.
Trucker stops in Cheyenne.
Washington
CNN take note.
D.C., all this stuff. Fucking just start it in Cheyenne, and it all funnels into there.
All the news goes through that one truck stop in Cheyenne. It really does. So just like plant a couple journalists there, and then you really got your ear to the ground.
Yeah, that's where I
Absolutely.
think it's where Hamilton Morris got his start. Cheyenne, drug culture in Cheyenne.
Drug culture in Cheyenne, and just it all snowballed from there. That's where he got all his connections to go to like whatever weird forest in the Amazon.
Mhm,
He
mhm.
met that dude in Cheyenne
Yeah,
in that Flying J truck stop. Absolutely,
classic spot,
man.
classic
No
spot.
doubt, man.
So you guys moved there, and uh, are you guys immediate? I mean, you guys are just kind of full bore into music at this point, right? Just kind of just continuing. Did you feel like there was new energy kind of put into the band at that point that you're like,
Oh,
whoa,
dude.
like new location, just new kind of hurdles or things to where to play and such?
Absolutely, man. Yes, totally. It was like new inspiration, because you pull inspiration from what's around you, and so it was all new to us. Things were moving faster, and us all living in this tiny living quarters, but we had like a band room where we could jam. It was uh, it was an awesome time. It lit a new fire in us. We were making lots of new music, and it kind of had a different sound that was, showing of our environment, and it was really cool. It did, as far as like the shows and stuff goes, it there was like a curve there of, getting back in the circuit, meeting the people around, and kind of getting into the scene here. There was like a little curve there where we kind of had to get in touch, but we ended up really finding our groove, getting in with the right people out here. And Jonathan Tobin was big help getting us on some cool shows. He's like a great DJ out here. And meeting other bands and kind of just rubbing shoulders with people. But that did take a while. For the first little bit, it was kind of just us in that basement apartment just writing music, like whenever, all hours of the night, and it definitely like kind of made for a new sound. I was really into kind of this new sound. A little bit more, a lot of like punk rock was happening at that time out here. We were kind of like a psych rock band. I always kind of saw us as that. There wasn't a whole big scene for that kind of music out here. Mystery Lights were definitely popping off. But a lot of like the bands who we were friends with and rubbing shoulders with and partying with were like punk bands. Punk rock was big out here. So that was cool because we also got a lot of influence from them. Some of our punk rocks, and it's like if you guys want to play with these guys, you got to speed it up a little bit, or whatever. So uh, it did shape our sound a good amount. It's cool to look back on the music we made at that time.
Definitely. Uh,
Mhm.
are we kind of talking about the time when Sounds from the Hole was kind of being put out at that point?
Yes, exactly. And sounds from the hole. The hole was what we called our apartment. So it was like sounds from the hole. That was like the whole thing. Yeah, it was like, let's go back to the hole and jam. Like that would be something that we'd always say at the bar. Like, let's go back to the hole and jam, or you guys want to go back to the hole? Like that's what we called that dungeon where we lived. When we showed up to this place, it was just full of trash and old, like just, people had just thrown their crap down there for years. And we showed up and we're like, yeah, we'll take this apartment, but look at all this stuff in here. We can't. And the landlord was like, don't worry, I got a guy. And he got like this 70-year-old man who was just yoked, who was just down there taking out garbage, just taking stuff out for like 3 days straight to get us to be able to live down there, dude. And this dude was sick. Like we go down there and be like, "Are you cool, man?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Like, but do you mind just going and getting me like a beer and cigarette?" And we'd be like, "No problem," So we just go buy him a tall boy and a Lucy, and he was just, dude, he put in work. I was surprised that this dude had it, but yeah. So that's the whole, and that's when Sounds of the Whole came out. We met up with the Greenway Records dudes, and awesome, and Harry, and now he owns. He's involved with the Levitation thing as well. Dude's an awesome dude. Dude loves music. He's a great guy. So he helped us out and put us on that little four song EP that we recorded out here. I think that was the last thing we actually ended up putting out.
From what I've seen, that is the latest from the
Hmm.
band.
Yeah, we
And
released a couple of singles and stuff, but that was
well, what I mean, I mean, is it kind of on a hiatus right now at this point, or
it was, yeah, it's on an indefinite hiatus right now. It was we were really clicking before COVID happened. And then COVID happened and like life just kind of took a weird shift and people started doing kind of different stuff, getting involved with different bands and having different responsibilities here and there. And when we came back, we tried to get back into it, but I think it was just kind of got to a point where it felt forced to like do these shows and to get together and jam. And so something just kind of felt off, uh, like in the years following COVID. So I think it was all of us just being like, rather than just like force this and beat this down, let's take a break and like step back from it for a while, and because we don't want to go so far where you know people start disliking each other or whatever just because we're not in the same place that we were before COVID when we were just together all the time playing music. So things just kind of changed, and so we just kind of took a step back, and yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get back to it again or not, but everyone's still playing music on their own rights. Callan's in that gift band I was saying, and Dave owns that bar. I joined like a country band for a little bit there. And so people are still making music. Who knows, man? I would love to do like a little reunion get together show or something, or maybe even start making music again, but it's yet to be decided or really even talked about
till now?
till now,
This
man. Yeah,
this is
they're gonna
coming
listen to
out.
this and be like, whoa, man, it's actually some good times.
That is rad though, that you're kind of, it's not like a we're done sort of a thing. There's still a chance of it, like maybe coming back for a few shows or maybe a one-off show. Is everybody still in New York as of
So
right now?
yeah, our other guitar player, Dallin, moved back to Utah. So he's back there right now. That was just end of last year, so he hasn't even been back there a year yet. But he just kind of moved back there. His plan is to move back out here, but he's there right now. So we are split up right now, and so not anytime soon, unfortunately. But you never know. I mean, I jam with David all the time. He comes over to my house and we just make fun music, and Callan too. Like we're all still jamming together, but not like in the full band like it was. So we'll see if there's some kind of spin-off project, or you know we were just release something that we've been jamming on forever. So we'll see. Yet to be decided. But you got me thinking now. All this reminiscing is like,
To be determined. But Yeah, dude, Shane, thank you so much for coming on, man, and kind of just taking us down this journey here with the band, or albeit abridged, but still, man, just kind of laying out some key aspects and some good stories, dude. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. Like I said, it's I'm happy you reached out. I'm uh really honored to be brought on here, man, and it's been fun kind of reflecting back on those days. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came on here to do so. But before I let you go, we do have a little bit of promo here. Uh the this latest release from Max Pain and The Groovies, Sounds from the Hold, that EP is still available right now on greenwayrecords.com. So if people want to go check it out, I mean the in the music streaming everywhere where people get their music, that's where they can still find you.
Hmm.
Um
But yeah,
so
the EP
uh,
through Greenway, awesome orange EP. So and Greenway Records is just the best. So they put out good stuff,
oh yeah.
quality vinyl. So it's for them obviously more than Spotify. But like I said, I do like the accessibility of Spotify. If you just want to listen, it's there. But Greenway is the way to go for sure.
Right on. Shane, do we have anything else to promote before we cut you loose here, dude?
Oh man, I guess that's it. I guess I would just say any other touring band coming through New York, reach out to a Dave and Callan if you want to play Greenway. That's the venue right now in Bushwick. So shout out. Wait, did I say Greenway? I meant Alphaville.
Yes, yes. You say Green, but
Sorry, yeah.
also support Greenway. But yeah, Alphaville.
Also
That's
Greenway's out here as well.
all of it. Now, Alphaville is in Brooklyn, right? Correct.
Yes, yep,
Okay,
in
cool.
Bushwick. Yep, it's a great venue. Tons of good acts come through there. So if anyone's looking for a place to play, that's the place.
That's the place. Right on. Well, Shane, dude, thank you so much for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it. You're the man. I'm gonna stop recording this, and I'll talk to you in a minute. All right.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, man.
All right.